Like it or not, here we are.
Surprise, surprise, huh?
Oh my gosh, it has been almost a year since our last video. We had no intention of waiting a whole year.
When so much has happened. So much
A
has
lot
happened.
has happened. In our life, a lot has happened. In the world, we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, we've worked a lot.
We worked our fool heads off. I was getting up at 4 in the morning and working till midnight for
Months and months. He was doing that.
It's not quite as bad now, but it was pretty intense for quite a long while. 7 days a week. 7 days a week.
And then we did a little traveling. We went to first, I guess it was Memorial Day weekend. We went to New York for a delivery. Then over the 4th, we went to Idaho for a delivery. And
4th of July.
Yeah, 4th of July. And we caught COVID when we were gone.
And that was really fun.
And
gotta love family.
That wasn't too awful. We were a little nervous because of all we've had people in our community pass away because of complications, not necessarily with COVID, but complications.
Well, complications of COVID. That's possible.
But I would say our COVID experience wasn't.
It was sick, not the
severe.
sickest I've ever been. Mm-hmm. Worst cough I've ever had. Worst sore throat I've ever had. Mm-hmm. It was weird, I'll say that.
It was the worst fatigue I've ever felt in my life for me. I didn't get a sore throat or what he got, but it was still still bad.
And I had a lingering cough that just wouldn't go away. Lasted for 2 months. Nothing serious, just irritating. Mm-hmm. And then your deal was that little creature you've got over there.
So my deal was, we caught it in July, and starting in October, all of my hair started falling out. This is just what I've been accumulating. I've been actually holding this for the next video. So now I'm afraid I can throw it away. But this just is what came out of my brush.
You're going to throw away your tribble?
So this does not include went down the drain or whatever. This is just came out of my brush. And this has all been this was a couple of weeks I collected this. But anyway, my hair's nice and thin now. And I'm taking lots of vitamins. I've also had some health issues the last year. Same old thing that we've always had to deal with. Iron problems, infusions. I've had multiple of them this year again. I got really bad reaction to one of the infusions. It was really I was really sick for a whole week. What else? What else has happened?
I don't know. We've been working so much, it's hard to say. We always have the car stuff going on. We'll throw a video on at the end of that. But in JW land, there was terrible Tony trouble.
Yep. That was quite a shock to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there was 2 more that were put on the ranks for GB.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm really sad about because I was really, really enjoying the idea of saying Deca Pope.
Oh.
So we're not going to be able to do that anymore. No saying Deca Pope. Although because I'd like to Deca Pope.
Instead of Octopope. What else has happened? I guess just recently, the Germany shooting happened.
And that's pretty serious.
That's very serious.
And I think what's sad about that is already it's starting to fade. Here it is, Germany. Germany it's not like a shooting happens every day like in the U.S.,
It's not common.
But it's already fading into the distance, and I would think that in Germany it would linger a little harder there. You can't have the gun control debate there because they don't really have the same issues that the U.S. has with that, politically wise. So you think the core of the issue, and even in this country, the other part of the debate is what is this country's social structure that people are doing this? And really, that's the issue with witnesses. How come we're not talking about the shunning? I know witnesses are. Why aren't people in the government being informed of this? Or maybe they are, and I'm just not aware of it as much. I'm kind of out of the loop.
I think my main opinion about that whole situation is it's a terrible situation anytime that there is a mass unaliving, shooting, I don't even know what we can say anymore, in any case. But I sort of wish that the person who did that was still alive, just so that way things could come out more in the courts, or like a mental, what am I trying to say? Like
a reasoning.
Yeah, like the motive can't be
yep.
just dismissed easily. Like,
That's
oh well,
right.
he was just a mental case. Oh well, he was just disfellowshipped.
Right.
Oh well, like you can just kind of like sweep it under the rug a lot easier. I'm not saying that it was good. Please don't think that. I think it's a terrible thing that happened.
But having a manifesto, if you go into something like that,
It would sure be
helps
easier.
showing motive.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when there isn't anything like that, any sort of a statement written, then you're just kind of left hanging and
Yeah.
grasping at straws for the whys and wherefores. So
It's a lot easier for them to close a case like this, because what could you possibly do with this?
and
you
for
know?
witnesses to dismiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's tough.
It's so sad.
What else
Yeah.
to move on from there?
The Norway situation was kind of a big deal. The shunning, or then they
That's
lost their.
Yep. Well, and that kind of goes right along with the Pennsylvania investigations
Yes.
then. You know, which again, that's another big deal. I mean, but what are the effects going to be? That's my thoughts. You know, because it's true. It's a huge deal for the governments to take the step, especially in Pennsylvania, Watchtower of Pennsylvania. That's where they started out, right? So for them to have maybe the beginning of the end for them, at least legally, there is pretty humorous as far as this is concerned. But it's a big deal for them to go after them to this degree. And it's a big deal for them to tell elders, we are going to question you all and don't throw anything away. However, the not big deal thing is, even when we were active and we were going through our issue with the elders, I mean, this has been what, 4 years ago?
Yep.
Maybe 5 years ago now, this situation I'm talking about. I go to the elders and I when we were going through it, I said, well, tell the CO to look it up in our file. It's all in our paperwork, because I knew it was. And he said, well, the last CO threw all that away. Like, why would he do that? Well, it's because Satan's going to come after us legally. You know, so they were throwing all this stuff away. So what are they really going to find? Yeah, it's a big deal for them to say, don't throw anything away. So if anything isn't, or if there's something remaining, sure, they're going to dig it up. Possibly. Or a good chance they'll dig it up. But can you imagine how much more would have been found if this was done 10 years ago?
Oh my goodness.
Or if they actually went beyond this and said, okay, that's it. We're raiding Watchtower and we're taking possession of those
Headquarters you're talking about.
Yeah, headquarters. We're raiding Watchtower. We're getting all these files, these hidden files they've got. So in order to really progress on that, that's what they have to do is, anyway.
Yeah. I guess we'll just have to watch it unfold. We're not really up on a lot of things. I know that there's, like I said, a lot of people that are doing videos, and they do such a great job.
They do.
And so...
Which is why we don't feel like we need to be out there. We just do it every once in a while for kicks. But
yeah, we don't feel like we're so special. Like, we've got so much to give, I guess, to the community. Every little thing is important, but I don't know.
Just our 2 cents.
We're happy that more people are making videos and doing such a great job. Yeah. What else? Oh, and then the other thing I thought that was interesting is the blood issue is being put on display in Japan. That's still kind of a new, fresh thing, I think. But.
Yeah, and that's whatever your personal feelings are, and we're just talking about things
like
that
in the news and in the courts and kind of watching
on the courts,
that.
what's going on. But
yeah. So there's so much to talk about, but on top of that, all local witnesses will be joining us in the memorial observation this year.
yeah, because more than likely they're going to be sitting at home just like we are.
Yeah.
Again.
I don't think they have had a in-person memorial since before COVID. Because like this year we're having a major blizzard. We're supposed to get, well, it said 8 to 19 inches and then 55-mile-an-hour winds. So it's a straight-up blizzard. And they've already shut down like all of southeast part of our state. And then it will just continue as the night goes on. So they'll just shut down the state.
So rewind a year ago, we were talking about a huge blizzard in our last video, and now it's Groundhog Day. We're talking about the biggest blizzard of the season.
Yeah.
So all the pomp and circumstance of a Jehovah's Witness memorial is delayed yet another year.
Yep.
And we always hated that. And that's why we always went away during memorial to avoid the showy display, because that's what it is. It's always a showy display. But we always wanted to just get away from that and just kind of have some time to ourselves to think about the occasion without all the pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, we could really relax. We kind of used the time to get away if we could. Like, we wouldn't have done it this year if we were going to go away because of the weather. But, you could just show up.
We'd have been sitting at home.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, we could just show up. Nobody knows who we are. It's like, it can just be a regular occasion, Yeah.
And we're not trying to detract from the importance of the occasion, but importance is not extravagance. Yeah. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses Memorial has become. It's become its own type of extravagance. It's true, they don't have a big meal prepared. Not that you couldn't do that anyway. I mean, we've done it before, and that's nice to do. But importance does not mean extravagance. That's the main point I wanted to say again. Again, you can have your own meal. You can have something nice out of it. But it's too easy for that to go from having an occasion to a tradition. And then from tradition to, well, now it's expected of you. And then you have this social pressure that just adds to your burden. And in this case, Jesus instituted the memorial using everyday items. I mean, very simple stuff.
Did I ever tell you about that girl who came into the memorial and she was wearing a new dress? Because a lot of the women will use this as an excuse to buy new clothes, right? Because it's a really important day. But this girl walked in and she was wearing, like, it was a nice dress, but it had a train on it. But you talk about extravagance. You talk about dressing up or whatever, and it's like, it doesn't have to be this big of a, we're not going to a ball, so.
And even witnesses they'll talk about that type of a thing in their itinerary leading up to memorial, not being too whatever showy on that. But at the same time, they're doing the exact same pomp and circumstance when you instituted it. And again, true, they're not having a big meal like they talked about in, what was that in Corinthians? Where they said, don't you have houses for eating? This isn't a big showy ball. That's why Jesus made it simple. It's supposed to be simple. Mm-hmm. But Jehovah's Witnesses have made it the biggest event of the year. Mm-hmm. And while it is the most important event of the year, it doesn't have to be the biggest event of the year, the most extravagant event of the year. It just doesn't have to be that way. Too legalistic.
Yeah. Passover, what they had originally celebrated was pretty much like, what they used, the bread and the wine, was pretty much available at every meal. It was like part of their culture. They always had that wine. They always had bread, and
it's the customary table setting.
Yeah, like the American food doesn't include this kind of bread and wine.
But you go to Italy and they're drinking wine with every meal.
Or other countries. Yeah, some of those European countries, definitely.
That's why, I'm just kind of showing the difference with that. Whereas,
yeah. But like simple flour and water with plain red table wine was just their sort of like go-to thing. Like some people always have fruit on their table. Some people have just certain everyday staple things
and
have.
You even fried it this year.
I did, because I just Googled Passover bread, and that's the way they told me to do it, was flour, water, roll it out, olive oil, which is what they would have used then, and just on a hot griddle, just fry it like a tortilla, basically.
Yeah, and you're not against using the oven. You were just saying that it's different. It's a little doughier. It's like more like a tortilla this time.
Yeah, it's not as crisp and cracker-like. It's more like a tortilla.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I did it wrong. But that's just what Passover. that's what Google told me to do. So.
But again, we don't want to. It doesn't have to be so legalistic. No.
No.
And there seems like there's always going into that. There's always a date about an argument about the date.
Yeah.
It seems like I see it every year somewhere on Reddit or whatever. somebody talking about the date. I think a couple things to keep in mind is that if you go off the Jewish calendar, you've got to realize that there are some caveats in there that have changed over time. One, Jews don't recognize Jesus, so, and they also don't have the temple anymore, and that's when they customarily did the Passover. You can read about that under the Jewish traditional stuff, the current Jewish traditional stuff. And they have 2 different days. For example, there's 2, what they call it, Seder? No, I can't remember the name even. But they've got 2 different days where they do that. And then there's another day even before that they don't pretty much acknowledge, which would be like the Passover occasion versus the Passover celebration. One's called Peshach or something, and the other one's Maz something. Anyway, you can look it all up. I don't remember off the top of my head, but the point is that it doesn't always it doesn't always align with the Jewish current celebrations, if I can make that statement. So if you look at Passover, you're not going to get the same date or the same. And again, it's a lunar calendar, not a solar one. You know what the best thing to do is go on that. What's that website?
Hebcal. It's
So like-
HEBCAL, like Hebrew calendar, hebcal.com. And
Yeah.
you can like type in and compare what the date would line up to be.
Yeah, in our modern calendar, so you can do that. And then you have to remember, you click the sunset. There's a little button there that you click the
After
sunset. Yep. So that way it'll tell you what the day is after sunset when it begins. Because you got to remember, today is the same date as tomorrow on the Hebrew calendar.
After sunset.
Yeah, just depending on where you're at.
Yep.
But anyway, but I don't. The legalism, from what we understand, Jesus was not about the legalistic burdens
Correct.
of society.
That's why he hated the Pharisees so bad, because of their legalism.
Yeah, and
rules and tradition and all these things.
Yeah, so we try not to be legalistic about things. That's the main thing that is. It's fun to discuss those types of things, and if you accidentally celebrated it on the wrong day, well, okay, try to do it to the right time. But if you don't, even as we've talked about before, there's a provision. If you missed it, do it a month later. So it wasn't about being legalistic. You adjust through the needs. So it was a once a year observance. So why wouldn't Jesus, the new Passover, be once a year? Some of those things just make sense. Again, not being legalistic, I'm just saying, well, it's the same thing with your wine. You don't want it to have a bunch of spices and junk in it. Same with your bread, you don't want to have a bunch of spices and stuff in it. It was just to be unleavened, normal bread. But it doesn't mean you have to be totally legalistic about. At least I'm not. Whether or not there was additives added to it or not, it doesn't even say it on most of the bottles what they do and they don't add. So.
Yeah.
Don't be legalistic on things. Is at least how we observe Jesus to have been. And it's the same thing of. I want to say this too. It's like people will say, "Oh, if you don't partake of it, you are rejecting the blood of Christ and rejecting the body of Christ." And it's like, you do realize those are symbols, right? Because you're one step away from the legalism of
substantiation.
Yeah, however you say it, transubstantiation.
No.
Yeah.
The teaching where Jesus is
actually
the wine actually is Jesus' blood.
The teaching that after you actually consume the bread and the wine, it turns into blood and his body.
And his flesh.
So I guess you could just take him back out and clone him then? I just don't know how that would work.
There's so many things you could say.
But the idea that, it's what it represents. Again, it's the blood of Jesus, and it's in a cup of the covenant. So the covenant was, as Jesus said, with you for a kingdom to rule over the 12 tribes of Israel, if I can say that fast without sounding like I'm worth what. But to rule over the 12 tribes. I haven't even drank any yet. Barely. Just a couple sips. But if it's a covenant for a kingdom, is everybody who partakes of it going to be in that kingdom ruling over, or can you observe a inauguration without actually taking the sworn oath of that? So being judgmental on how different people view the scriptures, I certainly would never want to put myself in the place of watchtower in judging others and what is or is not. I can only say how I view things. And that's the difference between making a statement based on your convictions, and they can be strong convictions, and you can say how you feel or how you think about something, and manipulation, which is using the emotional side of it to convince or try to force someone else into agreeing with you. And that's something that we've been keying in on. That's our last video, talk about Groundhog's Day. We talked about manipulations. And it seems like it's constantly in this system of things, whether it's, and I say just in the world in general, not worldly, just everywhere.
Yeah.
People.
Just dealing with all kinds of different types of people, whether it be religious, corporations,
government.
Yeah.
It's all these manipulation tactics they use instead of just being forthright and saying what it is or how they view it. It's all this manipulation that goes on. And it's unreal how much there is. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we did that one last video about trying to recognize different ways you're being manipulated. And I think for witnesses, it can be very easy to be pressure forced into some sort of group think, especially if you've grown up around it.
Right.
If you've come in outside, I speak of my own experience, and I've talked to a lot of witnesses in this regard who are no longer witnesses, and they talk about their experiences growing up as witnesses, and you have a little more experience than I do in that regard, but how they just do what they do because, well, that's what we do. Mm-hmm. They don't celebrate holidays because, well, that's just what we do. Even if you know the reasons why you don't, you haven't made that your own personal conviction because you don't have that choice. You don't get that choice. You're pressure forced into baptism as a child, sometimes, oftentimes, for a lifelong decision, and without ever understanding the depth or the ramifications of that. And so you're forced into this societal groupthink, if nothing else. Even if you remove those pressures.
All the choices are taken away.
Right.
Regardless if they're right or wrong, we're not debating the right or wrong.
That's right.
Your choices for everything are taken away from you as soon as you as soon as you get traptized.
Yeah, traptized, as that one couple said.
Right.
So that's it's imperative to recognize the manipulations for what they are, so that way, as you leave witnesses, you're not jumping from one form of groupthink to another. Mm-hmm. Because we know so many witnesses, or what do you call it?
Faded or whatever.
Yep, individuals who are still in because of the sake of their family. We don't use the terminology, but PMOs.
Yeah. I guess even ex-witnesses to some degree, but...
Yep, but they jump from not celebrating any holidays just to celebrating holidays. I mean, without thinking about why they're doing that. Just to go along with what everybody else, because they're missing out. Well, make up your own holiday then. If it's about missing out, make up your own holiday. What's missing out in...
Have your own day.
Yeah, what's missing out in Easter, for example? I don't understand. It's like I was listening to a podcast of, I don't know, it might have been Joe Rogan. It was probably a TikTok video, quite honestly.
TikTok.
But it was of a podcast, and the guy's saying, and he's not a witness, and he's talking about what everybody knows you can look it up in any encyclopedia, about the God Star Day or whatever it is, and
fertility goddess.
What does a rabbit that lays eggs have to do with Jesus? Nothing. Mm-hmm. But it had to do with fertility, and 9 months later, they're sacrificing their children to this false god. So, what are all those things tied to? And why are you doing it? That's the main thing about that. Don't just go along with another form of groupthink, because the groupthink is everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And I don't care what you do, but I don't want to be manipulated or pressured to think that I need to do that because y'all are.
That's right. And that groupthink can go along with any time you get a few people in a room. You know, that's.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's with everything. It's with government. It's with movements,
Companies.
different movements, corporations, companies, all kinds of things like this. And it's like, you just can't get away from that whole mindset, the whole manipulation mindset.
And, you know, even other individuals you talk to can try to get you to agree with them through a manipulation, which is just another form of groupthink. So I don't mean to beat on the groundhog drum totally, but that's a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
And it seems to be getting worse. I think that's the one thing. Maybe it's just because it's so obvious to us, and it just seems to be getting worse in our own minds, in our own mind and eyes. But it just does seem that way.
Yeah, and dealing more with companies and how they just manipulate you through so many different ways and lie to you. One of our shipping companies. This is a perfect example, and it's so small.
I gotta get a drink quick.
Well, a shipping company we ship through. I go in there and because they sent me an email saying that they were giving me a 15% discount on their standard rates. And so I take my next freight in, and the guy that is from that location that works for this company says, "Oh, I saw on your email," because they're emailed in conjunction the same way with I am with a carbon copy of what they're emailing me. He says, "Oh, I see you got an extra 15% off," and I said, I hope that's the case, but that's not the way I read it. As far as I was concerned, that was a beat around the bush way of manipulating me, raising the rates, and then telling me they were going to give me 15% off their raised rates. And he's like, kind of looks at me funny, and I said, I hope that's not the case, but from what I've learned learn about companies, that's what they're doing these days. They won't tell you straight out what they're doing. Sure enough, they jacked the rates like 50%, and they were giving me a 15% discount, which ended up being like a 37%. My math's not mathing there, but it's not exact numbers. It ended up being like a 37% increase when I passed that on to our customers. So it's like, I don't care.
Just be forthright.
Just be forthright in telling me what you're doing. Don't have to lie to me about it. You know, and everything is that way anymore. Instead of just stating the facts, hey, listen, we're under regulatory pressure from shipping, and fuel has gone up, and this has happened, and quite honestly, our loads are totally packed, and we need to thin out the herd. We just got too much business, and so we're going to raise the rates to do with all that. Fine. I may not like it, but it's at least you're being straight up with me.
And
but that's just not the way anything is anymore. Everything's about manipulation. Yeah,
and some things behind the scenes, like all those things you stated, don't seem so sinister.
Yeah.
But some of the things people are being manipulated, some people manipulated with, I don't know, they are sinister.
Right.
They are sinister. They're wrong. So you just don't know. So then you question everything thinking it's sinister.
So to beat the drum on the manipulation, situation. But
we're going to get through this blizzard now, I guess, and
we'll throw something else on at the end, and we'll try not to be so far along. Should we throw a Mustang video on there?
Yeah. We need to make a plan. I don't know what you guys want to see from us. I think that's another thing. It's like there's so much to talk about, but yet we don't have a lot of time. I don't really know what you want to see. I don't know what to talk about.
All right.
Leave in the comments if you're gonna. I don't know. Maybe we're not relevant anymore. Maybe we won't even be watched.
We never were relevant.
Anyway, so I guess we'll just try to end it here. We'll try not to be on so long. I hope you guys are doing well, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye.
So we were on our way home from Grand Forks. Actually, I saw this on the way in, and there was a lineup of cars out here. 36 Ford, it's like a 3940, it's a 37. But we figured we'd stop, and it turns out he is selling them. So I'm gonna hang out here and wait for him. Like what, 56, 7 Chevys? Like a 48 Ford-ish. There is a 4950 panel wagon delivery. Another 4950. These are all 4950s. That one's a fleet line. Another fleet line. 49.50, 49.50. There's a 51 or 2 DeSoto. So we'll just kind of hang out here and wait for him to get home, I guess.
Somebody coming.
Done deal.
What's the done deal?
All the Chevys, maybe that semi, the trailer. We'll talk about that later. Nope, not yet. He just hauled them out. So he said, hey, they've sold some other vehicles, so he bought this lot, and
That's where they were in the lot.
yep.
So when are we supposed to meet him?
As soon as he gets off work, he's gonna get off a little bit earlier. I told him we'd cut him a check and be done. I'm gonna shut this off. You said he was from Boise?
Well, he lived in California for a bit, and then he lived in Boise.
I'm from North Idaho.
Really?
Actually, I was born in Tacoma.
Okay.
My wife is from North Idaho. But I was moved to North Idaho in, 5th grade?
Oh, yeah.
I'll walk around the other side one more time for the video. Nope, I've been looking for a 65 Fastback. I've picked one up in Minot 2 years ago to restore, and it is rough. And I mean like floor gone rough.
Yeah. This is not. There's one in most hole in the back seat.
I probably have a back seat. If not, I'll tolerate that. How long have you had it?
7, 8 years. No longer than that. Closer, between 8 and 10 years.
Yeah, as the scripture says, there's a time to buy and a time to sell. No, this will fit my fix perfectly.
We can open the door if you want.
Yeah, that'll be.
You just got it on the floor. Grand on it. He's making a drag car on it.
Oh,
And him and his dad were fixing it for 5, 6 years, and his dad got sick. So he advertised it on eBay, and I called him a couple times on it, and ended up making a deal with him.
now I bet I can see under the hood. There we go. Any idea on the history of the motor?
Brandon, it doesn't have 200 miles on it.
Oh, okay.
It's a 302, it was a 289 originally,
Yep.
and he got a 302 and rebuilt it in school, and parked it in his barn and never drove it around once a year, just a couple miles on the road.
Well, very cool.
We're on our way home and we caught a bird. I don't know if you can see him under there.
So stupid. I'm only going 60 miles per hour.
We're gonna stop at the stop sign. This just happened like maybe half a mile ago. Oh, maybe he's gonna be okay. I don't think so. He's still breathing. What is that thing? Is that like a little hawk or something?
Is he okay?
Ah! Put him over there in the grass.
Did you see him okay?
Yeah, I can see him. Get him away from me. I don't want a bird. He doesn't want to be with you either. Maybe you could back into their driveway and then turn around. You know, I don't know. There he is right there.
Just let me know if I'm getting close to that Mustang at all.
Oh, you're probably a car length away. '65 Fastback. Last of Chad's collection. Well, I don't know if I should say that or not. Anyway, pretty good shape. It's got some rust in, I don't know if he's videoed it already yet last night. It's got some rust in the quarter. It's got some rust in the fender. But all the goodies are on it. Like, I mean, it's all good. But it runs and drives. It's got a fold down, it looks like. I think he said it's a 4-speed. Pretty cool. Needs a louver. Wonder if we've got one. Pretty neat. Chad's pretty excited. I'm happy for him. Hopefully it's not too loud or right next to the highway. There we go. It's a better view. I'm not very good at this. I'm rusty when it comes to videoing. I've done it for a while. So we better load it up. We're gonna see if we can drive it up. Hard for me to see. He's really excited. He kept talking about it last night.
It is a nice car. You know, I kind of didn't want to sell it. I got two daughters that wanted me to redo a car for them, but they don't live there.
Yeah. I think it's just, you know, when you complete a collection, it's just kind of special, you know? You got about 6 feet. Pretty close, yeah. Are you parked? Are you parked?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna shut this off and help you get the rest of this.
Go out and take a look at it in all its glory now that we got it back home. All its dusty, barn find glory. I guess Tiff already took a picture of everything inside, she said. He said it's an original rally pack. Don't know if it came on the car or not, but pretty cool.
What are you doing? Taking pictures of your new friend?
Yeah.
Excited?
Yeah, that's cool. It's not too bad. Just a little bit of rust in the quarters. Nothing that we can't patch. I don't even think we need to replace the quarter. That should be
Yeah, I guess I'm just
repairable.
always seeing these Mustangs have damage in the wheel wells and the quarters, and so I just think about, you know, so many of them have to be replaced, so maybe I shouldn't smoke that way.
Yeah, seems pretty solid here.
It's just the outside. Maybe it's bad here.
It's bad down here. I didn't look at the trunk to see if there's. Grab the keys. We'll take a peek at the trunk.
Where's the keys?
In it.
Oh, you left them.
Where every car is in North Dakota, keys are. I shouldn't say that out loud.
What's that say?
No idea.
I came out here to get the lawnmower started, but I don't think that you appreciate me starting that while you're doing a video. Cat litter. Is that cat litter or gravel?
Doesn't look like it was replaced. Oh, retro metal. That's kind of good.
That means it's never been in Minnesota. Because things in Minnesota always are so rusty.
Definitely needs a clean job.
Yeah, it's dirty, isn't it?
Has been repainted. Not very well either. Anybody who paints the seals ain't doing a good job. It's a little bit there. I won't pick at it too much. Again, it ends right there, so it's solid up here. Just the little bubbles right there. That should clean up pretty good.
I'm gonna get the keys in and grab my mower stuff so I can mow this stuff.
Heck, I'll probably even just patch them panels and the fender. I don't even think I'll replace the fenders. They don't seem that bad either. I think I might have a front grille for it for the fogs. I've got valve covers and air cleaners aplenty for 302s. So we'll be able to doll this thing up in no time flat. Clean it up, polish the radiator. No, that's pretty cool. Everything shuts and opens just beautifully on it. I mean, nothing barely even clicks. I mean, that's just about as solid as it gets. We'll definitely need a new carpet. Put a headliner in it. New dash pad. Start ordering this stuff probably tonight. Stuff that I don't have anyway. I've got quite a few fastback panels. The seats are in good shape. He said there was a mouse hole in this back one somewhere. I've got a seat carpet kit for this, I think. I might have a hatch door. Not that I really care too much if it's got speakers in it, whatever. I'm not that anal. I probably have the latch hardware I can see that's missing. The lock hardware over here. I know I have one of those lights, or at least lens for it. I don't think I've got a carpet kit handy. I'll just order one. Definitely going with deluxe door panels, though. Get rid of these door panels. This wheel's not horrible. I'd rather have the other wheel the wood grain, but ain't that crucial. Nope, that's pretty nice, pretty nice. Cool.